You've no doubt heard of the backstop, but do you know what it really means? You have without question heard the word backstop during these Brexit negotiations. It's probably every third word that you hear on the news. And I know what it is because I've been writing about it for so long, but many people actually don't know. They're sick and tired of hearing all these confusing terms surrounding Brexit. So I thought we'd clear that up today. It's something that Theresa May insisted was part of the Brexit deal. It's something we've now got, but it's changed along the way. And just to begin with, by the way, the word backstop comes from baseball, which I had no idea about. I'm evidently not the sporty type. But the backstop refers to a fence behind the catcher, which stops the ball leaving the field. So think of this as a safety net. So when we leave the European Union in March of next year, we enter the transition period, which lasts about 2 years. And then the question is, what if by the end of that transition period, we don't have a deal? What happens then? Well, that's when the backstop comes in. And that's why Theresa May keeps saying to people who complain about her backstop policy that it might not even happen. She says, I don't even want this to happen. The fact that it might happen is, of course, the problem. But she doesn't seem to see that. Now, the backstop is essentially a fallback option if the negotiations don't go well over these next 2 years. And on June the 7th of this year, the government published a policy paper, which they called Technical Note on Temporary Customs Arrangement. And in it, they explain, the UK's proposal is that in the circumstances in which the backstop is agreed to apply, a temporary customs arrangement should exist between the UK and the EU. Now, this backstop was essentially put in place to try and avoid a border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. The Republic of Ireland is not part of the UK. Northern Ireland is. And as part of the UK, they're leaving the European Union. Now, the original plan was in order to avoid a hard border between these two countries, because suddenly that border between the two would become an external border of the European Union, as the Republic will be staying in the European Union. The original idea was to keep Northern Ireland within the customs union, within the European Union, even post-Brexit, to avoid that hard border during the backstop time, if we haven't got a deal. That doesn't work because the Democratic Unionist Party, the Unionists in Northern Ireland who want to be part of the UK, say, hang on a minute, we want to be a part of the UK. And also we don't want this hard border. So what are you going to do about that? We don't want to be treated differently to the rest of the UK when Great Britain isn't going to be part of that customs union. So Theresa May went back to the drawing board. And what she came up with was a backstop solution, which will be implemented only if we have no deal with the European Union by 2020 or whenever the implementation period ends. And under that backstop deal, the whole of the UK would remain within the customs union. That's the backstop. We'd be within the customs union while outside the implementation period, outside of the EU, but within the customs union with no control, no votes, no say in any matters of trade. Is it making more sense to you yet? And the problem here actually is the Northern Ireland would be in the customs union and the single market, and the rest of Great Britain would actually just be in the customs union. So there would still be a regulatory barrier and a trade barrier between Northern Ireland and Great Britain down the Irish Sea. Now it's getting more confusing. I hope this makes a little bit more sense. So the Good Friday Agreement stops that border from happening in Ireland. The backstop agreement is to try and stop that border from happening by effectively creating some kind of free trade within the island. Yeah, it's complicated. It's a difficult one, and Theresa May is really struggling with it. Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers, Jacob Rees-Mogg, seem to believe that it could be avoided with technology, using technology on the border between the islands as part of a free trade deal, but Theresa May hasn't gone for that. And Theresa May insists that the backstop might not even happen, so don't worry about it, guys. But what I would say is, looking at the legal advice published by the Attorney General, Geoffrey Cox, it shows that actually this backstop solution is proving to be very dangerous. So tune into my show when I talk about the legal advice to find out why the backstop is such a problem. But in the meantime, I hope it makes a little bit more sense to you now. If you want to see more from me and the rest of the Rebel team, be sure to download the brand new app from the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.